Together, but Sir Julius remained calm and focused and strategic. He knew that knee-jerk reactions would only hurt ordinary Papua New Guineans. Instead, he led a controlled response, securing financial support while protecting essential services. As I said before, he fought hard to keep investor confidence intact and to stabilize the economy without harming Papua New Guinea. That experience taught me a great deal about leadership, about making tough decisions, and about staying committed to the people we serve. In Sandline, we opted to give space to an acting PM. He gave space to John Giano, as the Prime Minister said. However, let me correct the statement that many people say today that he resigned. He never resigned. He stepped aside. He took leave, and he allowed the investigations to be made. I and the late Matthias Ijape, Honorable Ijape, we made a decision to follow. So we also stepped aside. It was a decision he left to us, and we willingly followed. After 2 intensive commissions of inquiry, the findings were against those who had initiated it. And no adverse findings were ever made against Sir Julius, Donald Ijape, and myself. Such was his belief in our systems of government and administration. We worked hard to strengthen the economy and introduce financial reforms, and reforms that corporatize the public sector. We had our disagreements at times, as it happens in politics, but friendship and mutual respect never wavered. Sir Julius was a man of his word. He valued honesty, he valued loyalty, and he appreciated hard work. Even when we were on opposite sides of the parliament, we could always pick up a phone and call each other. That was the kind of man he was. Always open, always willing to listen, and always thinking about what was best for our country. One of the greatest tests of leadership is how a person responds in times of crisis. And in 1997, I witnessed that firsthand in Sandline. Papua New Guinea was hit with an uprising and a constitutional challenge that threatened our stability as a democratic country. And what I mentioned before, Sir Julius did. He did as Prime Minister, facing a collapsing currency, rising inflation, and a struggling economy. He had to bring this economy under control. These problems were brought on by overexpenditure and the cooking of books by previous governments. It came home to roost when we took government. The IMF and the World Bank told us, no, you cannot hide your expenditures, over expenditures, and carry it to the new year. You have to declare it at the end of every year. So we did the best we can in cabinet meetings, debating the best path forward. There were drastic calls for measures, some advised against cutting essential services, others suggested increasing taxes in struggling businesses. But Sir Jay, as wise as he was, he guided us. And he guided me as best as we could. And we, in 1997 at general elections, left a country that was afloat, a country that may not have as much debt as we have today, a country that has had forex for investors, where foreign exchange was not a problem. Sergei never stopped offering guidance, and his advice on economic management was always insightful, always relevant, and always wise, grounded in lifelong experience. To Lady Stella and his children Vanessa, Byron, Mark and Toya, and the families and the people of New Ireland, I extend my deepest condolences. From myself, the people of Gulf, especially the people of Uritai and Kokipi, where Sergei served in his first job in Papua New Guinea as a corps officer. I know this is a time of sadness, a great sadness for you, but I hope you take comfort in knowing that his legacy will live on in the history of Papua New Guinea. He dedicated his life to us. He worked tirelessly to build the institutions we rely on. He was a true statesman, a man of vision, and a leader who will always put Papua New Guinea first. So Jay, your work is done. You built institutions like Central Bank, MRDC, Oregon Minerals, Rama Sugar. You made tough decisions like the float of the Kina. You guided us through turbulent waters in the economy and Sandline, and you set up the new provincial government system. And you did so with unwavering commitment to this country. Your legacy lives on. The history of Papua New Guinea will forever carry your name as one of its greatest sons. Your lasting legacy, of course, is the national pledge, pulled from the Constitution when you were Prime Minister in the Chan Habitat government, to make compulsory for future generations to learn and recite the national pledge daily as they attend assemblies and classes throughout this country. This was not done in independence up to the time that Sergei and I were in government. So lest we forget. May you rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Honorable Member and Minister, Regional New Ireland.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to honor the life of one of our founding fathers, Sir Julius Chan, and take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of his family, members of the New Ireland Provincial Assembly, and other distinguished guests accompanying them in the gallery this afternoon. Governor for New Ireland, our second Prime Minister, and indeed our First Minister for Finance, which in 1975 had oversight for Treasury, Finance and Planning. My family knew Sir Julius well. My uncle Morris Ling was a foundation member starting PPP, or the People's Progress Party, in West Britain Province in 1970. My paternal father, Robert Cheong, was the first PPP provincial member for East Coast Karanalik, KVN, at independence from 1975 to 1982. My father was also a PPP candidate for the Caving Open Seat in 1987. It is not surprising then he was Sir Jay's inaugural coordinator for Tabar Islands in 1968 when Sir Julius first contested and won the Namatnai Open seat. He was a workaholic. I worked with him briefly in 1982, 43 years ago. He started his day at 5 a.m. as Deputy Prime Minister of the Philippines, and regularly finished after midnight. His only break was at dinner, where it would again be taken up meeting with VIPs and other leaders. At his favorite restaurant, actually the only restaurant then in Waigani, the Golden Bowl. I remember his stories of hard work. Well, such was his dedication to public office, setting a standard by which all future generations have tried to emulate. I remember his stories of his hard work he had to do in the early agricultural cooperative days, lifting 180-pound bags of copra. We shared the same strong work ethic. We shared the same vision of improving the living standards of all New Islanders and all of Papua New Guinea. But we did not always share the same policy positions. At times, many times, as we grew into cranky old men, we were in conflict on autonomy, on monetary and fiscal policy, old age pensions, sosopa, you name it, we made it, and election platform. But despite these differences, we shared a deep and common love for the people of New Ireland. In Namatnai and TVWAN, as in PNG, people can have different views on how best to achieve shared visions. Policy differences are often exaggerated by politics. My worry is that our late former Prime Minister could feel that his pioneering work from 1968 in the Legislative Assembly and decades of work later has not delivered on the hopes of our founding fathers. Our people's standard of living on the best economic indicators available today have fallen since independence. This would not have been his dream. There has been a historic improvement since 2020, but our people are still worse off than they were in 1975. Sir Julius knew this. It was not his vision. It is not our government's vision as we move to celebrate and recalibrate our 50th year anniversary. We must all learn from our past, our successes, and our failures. We must also learn from Sir Julius's experiences when he moved to a freely convertible currency back in 1994. After then Governor of the Central Bank of Papua New Guinea rang him at 5 a.m. one morning to tell him that PNG had run out of foreign currency and negative international financial reserves. So we must learn how to make the transitions to better economic policies that protect our living standards. There is an old saying, all grievances stop at the gravesite. So I echo these words for all citizens and all New Islanders, for all his immense contributions. There may have been moments you felt your expectations were not met or even disagreed. Let us all today move on, knowing that he gave all Papua New Guineans his very best. So the passing of Sir Julius should not only be a time to mourn or seen as the end of an era, but rather a reset, an opportunity for all New Islanders and all Papua New Guineans to embrace his legacies where there is commonality, and to impose our own vision for a better country that Sir Julius and our founding fathers would be proud of. Sir J. Atanso, rest in peace.
Honorable member for the Yalapur.
In our condolences to the family of late Sir Julius Chen, Lady Stella, Vanessa, Byron, Mark and Toya and their respective families, the acting governor for New Ireland and the members of the Provincial Executive Council and the Provincial Assembly, all the Mai and the people of New Ireland and Namatanai especially, on behalf of PNC and behalf of my family and my people of Yalabupangia, we extend our sympathies, pay our respect, extend our appreciation, and we honor this great gentleman. Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank the family for sharing Sir Julius's life with our nation and our people and our country, because he's served this country throughout his entire life, from a young man to the time that he has served out as a governor of New Ireland Province. He is one of the very few leaders in this country, Mr. Speaker, that has been honored as founders of our great nation. These few leaders have laid the foundations of which we call our great nation, Papua New Guinea, today that remains independent, free, and enjoys the democratic values they've enshrined in the Constitution that we now respect and honor in this country as the laws that govern our nation, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, despite many challenges we face today, and of course over the last 50 years, Mr. Speaker, I am privileged that a few of us and many of us leaders here in this parliament and parliaments in the past have had a privilege of working with these great leaders, Sir Julius Chen, Sir Michael Somare, and many other leaders who have served their time in this honorable house. We have benefited greatly, Mr. Speaker, from their wise counsel and guidance. Sir Julius in particular, Mr. Speaker, man of great honor, Mr. Speaker. His word was his honor. He was selfless, hardworking, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, during challenging times in the history of this country, Mr. Speaker, Sir Julius Chen stood tall. As he stood tall in the beginning of our nationhood. As many speakers before me have stated, Mr. Speaker, many of the government institutions, the departments that we manage today, the financial institutions that we enjoy and serve us, and of course, many of the constitutional offices that govern our nation and our leadership, Mr. Speaker, were formed and founded by these great leaders, including Sir Julius Chen. Mr. Speaker, the challenge on us, the next generation of leaders, is to honor their contribution to our nationhood and continue the legacy that they have given to us. And Mr. Speaker, and that is by protecting these institutions, making sure that they continue to function for the best interest of our nation and our people. Mr. Speaker, As we all know, Sir Julius Chan is a great financial brain. He had an intellect that was beyond many of our own capacities. And he is purely responsible for the sort of economy that we enjoy in our country. Mr. Speaker, during the formation of our nation, many of our leaders visited many countries around the world. They visited countries that practice Western democracies like ours. They visited countries that had socialism and communism around the world to form the constitution that we have today. And it could have been easily that the economy of a country could have been managed and structured in a different manner. But we have inherited a capitalism way of doing business in our country, and largely that is due to the contributions that Sir Julius Chan has made. So, Mr. Speaker, while we enjoy this growing economy, we must not forget the foundations that they have set. Also, Mr. Speaker, today we also have a very healthy and huge population, well educated in the country, Mr. Speaker. Again, the work of governments that Sir Julius Chan and Sir Michael Somare and many other founding fathers have led, have set the foundations for which many of us are beneficiaries. We were educated, and we are now serving as leaders in this country because of the hard work that they have done, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, in trying to pay my respects and condolences to the family, I want to, for us to reflect on the work that these great men have done, and in particular Sir Julius Chan, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it is our duty as leaders and members of Parliament, especially members of this Honorable House, that we learn from the examples that these leaders have set for us, and we try and use that experience to guide us in making decisions into the future. Mr. Speaker, we are all earthly men. We have made mistakes, but, Mr. Speaker, men like Sir Julius Chan in a life of a country are very rare to find. And we are privileged to have had him in this honorable house serving our country and our people. To his family, once again, thank you very much for sharing his life with us. May God bless Sir Julius Chan. May his soul rest in eternal peace. And may God bless this great nation, Papua New Guinea. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Also join our other colleagues in offering homage to our founding father, late Sir Julius Chan. This is also the message on behalf of on behalf of our party members, in case we all do not have an opportunity. Of course, thank you for lead of government business that we will continue offering our homage messages for late Sir Julius Chan even tomorrow. Honorable Speaker and also other colleagues, today as we convene our first 2025 session, it is with a heavy heart that we gather to honor the memory of a remarkable leader, a visionary, and a true patriot, the late Sir Julius Chan, Governor of New Ireland Province. Let me also acknowledge the presence of the acting governor and all the provincial assembly members and family of late Sir Julius Chan in the gallery. Apart from being the first finance minister and also the father of Kina and Toya and being a second prime minister of Papua New Guinea, Sir Julius Chan was just more than a colleague. He was a mentor to many of us, a trailblazer and a friend. His passion for provincial autonomy was unmatched. He believed that the strength of our nation lies in the empowerment of our provinces. He often reminded us that true development begins at the grassroots level, where the voices of our people are heard and their needs are met. His proposal of that provincial autonomy and his reforms to the Mining Act are the staunch evidences for his passion. Sir Julius was a firm advocate for decentralization. He envisioned a Papua New Guinea where provinces had the resources, authority, and capacity to drive their own development. He fought tirelessly to ensure that provincial governments were not mere extensions of the national government, but dynamic entities capable of shaping their own destinies. His leadership in New Ireland province was a testament to this vision. Under his guidance, New Ireland province became a model of progress and self-reliance and innovation. Sir Julius Chen was not only a leader but a statesman in every sense of the word. His contributions to Papua New Guinea are immeasurable, spanning decades of service as Prime Minister, Governor of New Ireland Province, and a tireless advocate for national unity and progress. He dedicated his life to the betterment of his people, serving with integrity, resilience, and unshakable belief in the potential of Papua New Guinea. He's a leader, someone who really loved his people. And leader has to have that hope and belief in his people. Mr. Assistant Speaker, what resources don't we have in Papua New Guinea that we have to put our hands to the outside world? God has blessed everything in abundance in this country, and He is a strong advocate for our self-reliance. As we reflect on his life, let us also remember what late Sir Julius wanted for the current generation of our leaders. He urged us to prioritize service over self-interest and to champion transparency and accountability and to remain steadfast in our commitment to the people we serve. He challenged us to think boldly, to innovate, and to never lose sight of the bigger picture. Mr. Assistant Speaker, to honor his memory, let us recommit ourselves to the cause of provincial autonomy, to the cause of all the reforms he introduced in mining industries. Let us work together to ensure that every province has the tools and support it needs to thrive. Let us build a Papua New Guinea where no one is left behind, where every citizen has the opportunity to succeed, and where the dreams of leaders like Sir Julius Chan are realized. We should celebrate his life, and more importantly, Assistant Speaker, we should learn to celebrate the life of all our elders and founding fathers and seniors while they are still alive. Many times we miss the opportunity and we regret later, and we heap prizes after once they leave this world. Let us embrace all the leaders here, the seniors here, who has been contributing to this country while they are still alive, and we acknowledge their service. In closing, Mr. Assistant Speaker, I extend my deepest condolences to the family of late Sir Julius Chan, the people of New Ireland Province, and all who knew and loved him. May his soul rest in eternal peace, and may his legacy continue to inspire all of us. Thank you, and God bless. Thank you.
Minister for
Thank you, Acting Speaker. I take this time on behalf of the people of East New Britain, the Greater New Guinea Islands, all Papua New Guineans, to give respect to a great man. For some of us, we don't go to school to become politicians. We watch what our elders have taught us to do, and we try to emulate what our elders have done. Sir Julius, to most of us, to all of us, had this knack of actually giving us advice that could make us better. And if you had the time to sit down with him and listen to some of the stories that he had. Because in those days, nobody taught them how to become leaders of our nation. The first founding fathers, they learned everything from the day they walked in. Sir Michael, Sir Julius, the whole lot of them. So every mistake they made, they had to correct that mistake and do better. We are the privileged now that we learn from those mistakes, or those ideas that help forge our nation. We learn from that now, because we have the choice to have learned from their time. We talk about him now that he's gone, and we say the things that he really, we talk about New Ireland, we talk about where he came from. But us from East New Britain, Sir Julius was our leader as well. In the days of forming government in those days, East New Britain and New Ireland, we were one. We were together. And I don't call him a leader of New Ireland. I call him a leader of Papua New Guinea. I've been to places with Sir Julius in the Highlands where people flock to see him, just to see him. And people give him that respect. And everybody's got a story of how he wake up so early in the morning and go running. And his bodyguards are trying to keep up with him, as Deputy Prime Minister said. Our nation has come so far under his guidance. I am truly blessed to have had time to spend with him, as I've been truly blessed to serve 2 prime ministers. And I can honestly tell you from both prime ministers that I've served, they never forget the past. So Julius always told us, he said, we're all on a path. Sometimes the path goes a bit crooked and we go off to the side a bit, but we're still moving in that direction. This type of advice is how our government should be going, how people should be going, leadership should be going. Yeah, we're not all holy. We don't all claim to know everything. But when you learn something from a guy that's done it, and he tells you, yeah, you made the mistake, pick yourself up, dust yourself down, and continue to go. That's how we should be going. When I went to New Ireland to the burial of Sir Julius, the Blominsky Highway is not a small highway. To see flowers, not 1 inch of that road, to see flowers scattered all over that road for him to go, it gives you the greatest respect of the man that had just passed. I also give appreciation to Lady Stella. Sir Julius was in Parliament for most of his life. Some would say the whole of his life. But to be in that position, to have a strong woman standing behind you, that is a feat all women should be proud of, standing next to, behind him all this time. The children, Vanessa, Byron, Mark, Toya, it's not easy. It's not easy to step in shoes. Shoes so big, I don't think anyone could fall into those shoes or fit those shoes. But we got to try, because he didn't die for nothing. He made us all believe that we could make a great country. That's his greatest asset. Don't think that he was the smartest guy on the planet. He was wise. He made his mistakes. But we all have to work together to correct it and make it happen. And he gave us the way to do it. We just have to look inside of us to ensure that we follow somebody that has given us the direction. That's what we need from our founding fathers, the directions. On behalf of my family, my people of Gazelle, the Greater East New Britain, again, condolences to Lady Stella, all the children, all the grandchildren, vacuum that Sir Julius has left, I hope in the future that we can work together to ensure that the dreams that he left behind for us to fulfill are fulfilled. Thank you and God bless.
Member for Malaysia.
Mr. Speaker, let me join the rest of you to pay our tribute to a great man of our young nation. Our political party, the People's Party, stands to uphold some of the principle and vision. Great men in late Grand Chief Somare, late Mekere Murata, and now Sir Julius Chen, among others, have stood for. Chen's feast in political marathon is unmatched and a legacy on its own. Etched into the oracles and history of our nation, even folklore to be recited in generations to come. The great Sir Julius Chen have been a great believer of good governance, upholding of strong democratic principles in political, economic management, and institutional functioning. He always believed in the independence of the political arms of government, as was exemplified in his willing resignation in the 1997 during the Sandline crisis. We now mourn and pay our tributes to a great man who had left behind memorable legacy in our thriving democracy and young, beautiful country. He was one of the founding fathers and the last man standing till this day. Regrettably, he fell short of 8 months to see the celebration of our nation's 50th anniversary of the country he fought to build over his 57 years in politics. We recall briefly some of his memorable contributions, which are etched into our history, apart from his strong personality and his ability to solve problems through reasoning and through the Melanesian and chiefly established system. His economic contribution as 3 times finance minister and 2 times prime minister are numerous. He had been the economic mind behind Somare's economic achievement. He brought in and installed kina and toya to replace the Australian dollars and shillings as our own national currency. During those times, our kina convertibility was as good as the US dollars and even very strong. He also realized thereafter that the hard kina policy could not be maintained as we required more inflows of forex, such as dollars, to equalize the currency markets and ought to undertake austerity measures in calling for infrastructure development and structural reforms to make the economy more competitive. He regrettably, under pressure from IMF and World Bank, among others, also ought to abandon the hard kina policy to allow the kina to subject to free market forces and devalue naturally. The work of devaluation of kina he initiated was later carried out in full swing under late Bill Skate in 1997. Late Murata also carried on the structural reforms to full extent to continue the momentum initiated by this great mind. His reforms to the financial institutions were also many. He was also instrumental in setting up the Bank of Papua New Guinea to be independent from the Reserve Bank of Australia. He believed in the independence of the central bank, in the regulation of financial institutions, the financial markets, and the independence of the governor of the bank as the sole authority in dispensing monetary policies, while political leaders can only indicate national interest through moral sources. During his remaining days, he had reminiscent and sometimes nostalgic on how strong institutions can crumble under too much political interference. In contribution to setting up the key institutions of government, he had always emphasized the independence and checks and balance system as a crucial ingredient of good governance. He always believed that politicians should not interfere with the workings of the bureaucrats and always allow the clear demarcations to exist. He always emphasized that the three arms of government should always be independent of each other. When he left national politics, even giving away an opportunity to become Prime Minister to late Maratha, to concentrate on the affairs of his province as governor. He had always fought for his people, the greater decentralization of functions of national government, and lately provincial greater autonomy were some of the agendas he had been fighting for till this day. We will greatly miss him. At the same time, carry dearly in our minds and hearts who are remarkable and great men Sir Julius Chen had been to us as a young, vibrant, democratic country. On behalf of the People's Party and the people of Thalassa district, especially the Bali Vitu and the Bakawi people, and our residents of Kimbe Town, we would like to convey our condolences to the great family, late Stella, Byron, Toya, Vanessa, Mark, the grandchildren, and the people of New Ireland province. Thank you.
Fellow leaders, to pay tribute to this great Mai of our country, founding father of our country, former governor of our province of New Ireland, Prime Minister 2 times, Sir Julius Chen. On behalf of our capital city, on behalf of our party too, and all our members in the country, Social Democratic Party, and on behalf of my family, I would like to firstly offer our condolence to his brother, Michael, his sister, to all the children, to Vanessa, Mark, Byron, and Toya. Also to our members of New Ireland, Treasurer, youth staff, Minister Bloyumi Long, Transport and Civil Aviation, Imelgeda and family, condolence to Toksore, Big Play, Goloyu Plateau, Acting Governor Bloyumi Long, New Ireland, and Mr. Bloy, all the leaders Bloyumi Long, New Ireland, all my families Bloyumi Long, Tabarna, Lo Huristu, people condolence, Toksore, me extend him. Igolo you blogger, big plan lost the Yumelgada. Me come to Parliament, one the Prime Minister of 2007. Sir Julius have been out of politics for 10 years, and he re-entered Parliament in 2007 too. So this 17 years, we have been together on this journey. For me, as a member of Parliament. So during this time, I've come to respect, greatest respect to Sir Julius Chen, to his work, to his ideas. Not only it is a great privilege to serve a founding father of our country, but also a wise man with great wisdom. Makes some of us sometimes young and robust, humble. Me in particular, All of us have our stories with Sir Julius Chen. Me too got story about them, Sir Julius Chen. Before I came into Parliament, we admired this man too. First Finance Minister. You will get a survey, acting, Assistant Speaker, Pablo Quina de Toya. Not just that, but Central Bank. Not just that, but PNGBC na Agriculture Bank at the time now. All the financial institutions. I mean, isip pala something. Yet, na miluki mem Finance Minister, misa tingin mi wamla great economist. Sim economics degree or some kind degree also. But when I read his book, Playing the Game, I think me disappointed that this man I so admire. I mean, sim degree. I'm stablo college long Australia na. Sa play rugby na, I'm running motorbike na, I'm ko bump na, I'm no go long. Continuing his further education. But he was a determined man. Now in hindsight, you may gotta give credit to Grand Chief Sir Michael Thomas Somare, and he deserves all the credit and accolades. No? All the respect and honor you may give long him. Grand Chief Somare was determined and believed like me. He set a goal that Papua New Guinea must become independent. No what kind he divert him or undermine him or waver that sense of commitment. And that's a great achievement for Grand Chief Somare, and we must never forget, because granted time we take these things for granted. And it's not easy to put a nation together, especially a nation of 1,000 tribes, 860 languages. In 1975, you meet somebody like Brook yet. It needs very special people like Grand Chief Somare. And he deserves all the credit. But Sir Julius Chen too equally, can't time him to give him credit. Building lo name of Sir Julius. So Assistant Speaker, me, Dr. Start, I mix emotion. Mixed emotion because I regret legally. Last year or year before, me thinking lo walking one blah, time long grievance debate. I will pay tribute to Sir Julius. And I keep thinking of and so one of my regrets in life, not going to see this man who's a mentor, wise man, founding father, but also a very humble man. I can testify to this humbleness too. In his greatness, he's also humble. Time is long recovery or me recovery in Australia or Gold Coast. He was also undergoing treatment too. There's a machine stablo up long until I think he failed now and go stablo up. But when he heard that I also was under emergency or recovering after hospitalization, but it took time to come and visit me. And I was and still humbled by that gesture. And that's the measure of this man. In his greatness, he's also humble. And he's one big lesson to you mean now leaders of today. You must emulate him or think him or try to manifest it too. We want to do great things. We want to be great leaders. But we must be humble too in what we do and reach out, show empathy and sympathy and support our people. Be there for our people too. In 2019, I'm got 80 years Christmas vlog. And I had the privilege to extend him invitation come lo milong. Be his guest, the plus vlog and the huris. Hey, this man was well respected by our people in New Ireland. Remember, Bloyumilo Giselle, you talk, you know, Gaman. The people of New Ireland held him in high regard. Ceremony I'm start long. Plus long country belong any minister Bloyumi. Lo civil aviation, transport. Start lo 5 o'clock ya. He going up lo 5 o'clock. All man Mary lo New Ireland. Big man na Mary na my to all come. Sim taro na. Sim mist na. All gonna pig na. Come celebrate him life long him. Hey, mi pala governor ya mi o sem governor tu Mr. Lomosby ya man Mary no sa give me pig. Oh, one time also come. So me will talk Lady Stella. I think CJ is not just a governor, he's a great leader. Maybe, you know, if we are in a feudal system, and by one blow, emperor or something of that. And that's very fitting of him. He has earned that respect. He has earned my respect. And I say this too with no, you know, short measure, because in his all his achievement too, which we all admire. One plus decision long too about sand line. You make a kind ting long. Me, I was involved in mobilizing the city of Port Moresby or countering the sedition. But when I come to Parliament and look in retrospect, I respect this decision too. Just as a speaker, members of Parliament, at the time, PNG Defence Force is working Operation Footloose 1, now Operation Footloose 2, all go on top of Panguna, but BRA ready finish. They suffered wound, and they had to carry their wounded comrades down from Panguna. He come down, he come along East Coast now, he go down to West Coast. So some of this decision, leaders have to make. And they made a decision at the time. And Governor, Senior Bloyumi, Governor Blogaf, let me explain in brief. Inquiry come up. You can look at it whichever way, but it was a decisive decision too. You can look in one of the unintended consequences that you make a pizza court. On them Bougainville. So you can be this way or that way. Me mobilize small people. And I came to understand the measure of the man. You may look back on life long end. Apart from putting the monetary system together, decision that they make, like sending Kumul force down to Vanuatu to intervene, to protect the sovereignty of the country. Some members of Parliament at the time, only I work in this decision, but said Jay was committed. PNG must be a country that is coming of age, that can make its mind. New Zealand and Australia are not like Salim troops to support him, Father Walter Lini. Sir Julius Chan made the decision with the Parliament at the time. And look at the outcome now. Vanuatu remain its integrity stuff, going to independence in 1980. And now they have the highest regard for our country and our people. No one plenty country in the world only admiring Papua New Guinea. But one decisive decision. You mean thinking to the 1980s? Online you mean New Guinea Islands like breakaway and go. All the premiers at the time. And St. Julius had to do what he has to do. The organic law was amended. Now you meet governors, governor of parliament. We can, by hindsight, look back and have a second thought and say maybe it's a wrong decision or so on. But he has to do what he has to do. Now you meet governors, become members of parliament here, and the integrity of the state of Papua New Guinea is intact. That's the type of decision or leadership that we also need. Decisive. You mean no need to procrastinate, no losing ego na. Decisions whether it's popular or not, sometimes we must make decisions. That's a great lesson that some of us have come to learn and try our best to emulate. Some of the time, even me too, me procrastinate. Some things I have to do in the city. Meeting me must work, but me alone slack too. We continue to learn. So plenty, you know, accolades we must give him, honor him, Sir Julius Chan. He lived this life for the service of our people, both in Namatanai and in New Ireland, and then Papua New Guinea. Yumi Sawetu, he never stopped thinking about Papua New Guinea until his death. Yumi Alkanai Sawe, Prime Minister, I'm not losing government Yumi or Golo opposition because I'm not like you. But only once is asked to perform well in government. Your Prime Minister must perform well, ministers must perform well. Maybe I'm thinking no good Yumi na Golo opposition, but Yumi must respect him. And me too, I think, I must think no good me too, yeah. You start in the government, you know behind me. So I mean, not make him long against him anybody. He just want to teach us lessons. So you must pay him highest respect long and thank you, lo family belong. All people below you, lo Tangar, lo Huris, Namatanai, New Ireland. You play vote him, come. To play them, you play Malolo long but you play Salim come back. I have been great privilege to share my time in Parliament with this great leader of our country. These leaders were, you may sample now, you may got kind degree in a master's, but all leaders at the time, they were masters in our culture and in our tradition and in leadership and wisdom of our ancestors. All carry me come now. Only put him strong for our foundation below you me too. Some of the time you me too must lose him this kind degree below you me kind. Now we draw on the leadership and the values and the success of our people who had survived, lived on this land 50,000 years. Only have survived now, sustainably coming up now, if they had no good values and foundation, good ideas. Now you may line him up, kind of passing along, ideas law, west na, east na, north na, south na. And it seems like we are not, you know, acknowledging and vindicating the greatness of our ancestors too. And the people like Somare, leaders, I mean, Sir Julius Chan, Samatia Beyui, Ruben Taureka, Sir John Gais, Yambake Oku, Sir Teabal. These are leaders schooled in the culture and tradition and wisdom of our ancestors. And they set the foundation of country. We have to honor them and respect them. And we should never forget them. We like to thank you, Lord Prime Minister. Continue to honor and pay respect to Grand Chief. That story is a great story. Our people must never forget, now and into the future. They must never forget. And Sir Julius too, all leaders of the New Ireland, you must got ceremony belonging, if not in Kavian, at least in Huris. So our people too in New Ireland and PNJ Saul must never forget these great leaders who laid the foundation. Plenty you may walk lose thinking long. We are forgetting. Thank you, Mr. Assistant Speaker. Thank you once again, long family below sharing this great man with us. Help him long, putting foundation for country below me together. Bringing our country 50 years. Me talk sorry of some 8 months, 6 months time. I'm supposed to look him 50 years long. Hard work long walk long hand mark long here. Him no come lo this mark, but He's lived a great life, served his purpose. His life was a meaningful and purposeful life, and we are humble and thankful to him. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
My family, the people of Abau, I want to join the rest of the leaders who have paid tribute to this great leader in our country, the late Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan. I had some personal encounters with the late Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan, but before I share with you very short versions, I want to acknowledge God in bringing about this great man at a time when the nation was beginning to start as a country. I think history is now proven that at the foundation time of this young nation, the country needed Grand Chief Somare and Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan at that time. And so thank you, God, for allowing them to exist and be born during that time. Also, I want to thank the family, Lady Stella and his two remaining siblings, and Lady Stella and the children are here, the people of New Ireland, but particularly Lady Stella and the family, because as all of us know as leaders, plenty kind pressure and criticism have come. And the people who feel it most are the family. And so I want to thank Lady Stella and the children for providing a castle for this great leader that has stood the test of time through the early years of our nation's beginning to give birth to our nation, through the House of Assembly years, and then through this honorable house with both our Grand Chief Somare and Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan also served. And I give credit to them because all of us need a castle where we re-energize, regather our energy as leaders. But for the family of the late Sir Julius Chan and Lady Stella Chan's motherhood, they were able to provide that platform for Sir Julius to exhibit his enormous wisdom and talent and ability to, particularly in those early years of our nation, that he was able to bring about structural changes to the financial system that were needed at that time, bringing about those institutions that other leaders have shared. And so, what a great story in the beginning. My story came in when I had the opportunity to be appointed Secretary for Health by him in 1996. But it was way before that, when he first became Prime Minister in the 1980s, that he went to one of my little villages in Abau called Gabuone, and he established a women's hall. And so I then knew that he was aligned to the grassroots people. And at one time when I was sharing with him, I think I could be wrong, but I remember him telling me the story of how he was into the cooperative societies where the boats in Central Province, two boats called Magi and Kulau, they were the ones that would bring trade store goods, and in return we would bring coconut, and then they would bring them back for market. When I was appointed Secretary for Health in 1996, I had the privilege of knowing what the Prime Minister's office operates like. And one thing I said at the House Cry I would want to share because it emphasizes the focus, the dedication, and the commitment of this particular man that we are paying tribute to. That he actually every month would call us departmental heads because he had in his office a whiteboard where the government's priority projects were. And that he would ask us to update him. And if we were lagging behind, then we had a warning. So he actually had a great focus and attention on the priorities that he as the Prime Minister wanted to deliver in the country. And I became a politician in 2002. And when I moved away from the Grand Chief, he was there supporting me. And recently he joined us in Vanimo, and the latest he joined us. So he'd always moved when things are not right. He had the ability to discern where things are going wrong in leadership, and then he would be able to move away. And that is why I guess in his 2 prime ministerships, it was the vote of no confidences that brought him into the privilege of being a prime minister, rather than winning them in the elections like late Grand Chief used to do. I want to pose 2 questions in this tribute to this great man. One is a question that I've been pondering on for a while, and that is, out of the 8 prime ministers that we have had, 3 of those prime ministers went back to be governor of the provinces. Sir Michael Somare, Sir Julius, and Honorable Winty. They had spent most of their time worrying about the country, and they forgot about their provinces. So when they had the chance, they went to be governors of the provinces. 3 prime ministers. I wonder, Assistant Speaker, what is there for the lesson? I think the lesson is these 3 prime ministers believe that the provinces are the basis for our nation building. If we get our provinces right and get the economies of those provinces right, align the budgets right so that governors and their members of parliament can move their provinces, I think as a country we will move at a faster pace than what we've been doing. Recommendation is that we really have to seriously look at the autonomy issue as we are now in the year of the 50th anniversary of independence. We have to seriously make a decision to structure an autonomous arrangement, because some of us, and I know many of you believe, like the 3 former prime ministers who went to become governors, including the Right Honorable Sir Julius Chen, provinces has to be the building block for the nation from now in the next 50 years to come. The Right Honorable Sir Julius Chen was the architect, as I said, of the structure of our financial and the economic systems. I recommend, Assistant Speaker, as we are going to celebrate our 50th anniversary, and at the launching of the 50th anniversary preparations by the Prime Minister on the 30th of January, the day that Sir Julius passed away, I think my message is, and being the architect of our economy and the financial legislations, I recommend like I recommended when Grand Chief passed on, and I recommended that the SELAC be under his name, and now it's SELAC. I recommend that we move in the 50th anniversary. We have stopped at the 100 kina bill. No, not anything above 100 kina. I recommend, Assistant Speaker, that we look at producing a 1,000 kina bill. And in that 1,000 kina is Julius's face. Because he is the one, as we are acknowledging, that he is the one that structured the financial system of this country. At the time, amongst our many leaders, Grand Chief appointed him as the first Minister for Treasury and Finance. And at that time, Assistant Speaker, I want to acknowledge some other people, because many times in this type of occasions, we only praise the political heads. But I want to mention 4 people that were around that time when Prime Minister Somare and Minister Julius Chen wanted leaders in bureaucracy to develop the policy, draft the legislation, and manage the systems. And I want to acknowledge the gang of 4. Many times they are not being acknowledged, but on this occasion, I want to acknowledge them, and that is Rabi Namaliu. He became Prime Minister. He was a champion in public service, first commissioner in Public Services Commission. I want to acknowledge Emeka Morata. He became Prime Minister, as all of us have acknowledged. He was the first Secretary to Treasury and Finance. I want to acknowledge Anthony Siaguru. He was a champion of fighting corruption in this country. And I also want to acknowledge Sir Charles Lepani. He was the key player in making sure that budget and planning were structured right. And at the same time, Sir Henry Robert, who was the first governor of the central bank. The lesson and the reason why I have mentioned them is because when there is combination of strong leadership in bureaucracy and politics, this country will move at a pace faster. But when bureaucratic leadership and political leadership there's an impasse between them, then we do experience terrible delivery of public goods and services in every sector. So on behalf of the people of Abao, I want to say thank you to the Right Honorable Sir Julius Chan for his life, his enormous contribution, and the legacy that will never be forgotten. And I want to sit down with and advise. There are only 3 people in the country that were given Privy Council recognition. And only 3 of them have the right to be called the Right Honorable. The Right Honorable Sir Julius Chen, the Right Honorable Rabi Namaliu, and the Right Honorable Sir Michael Somare. Everybody else should not be called the Right Honorable. Thank you, Assistant Speaker.
Leader of the Government Business.
Mr. Assistant Speaker, on this solemn moment, I move that the debate be adjourned and made an order of the day for a debate tomorrow.
Question is that the motion be agreed to. Those in favor say aye. Those in against no. The ayes have it. Honourable members, I inform the Parliament that Chief of New Island Province will conduct a cultural was done of the footprint of late Grand Chief Right Honorable Sir Julius Chen at the front of the Parliament building, and will hold a reception at the State Function Room to express their appreciation and gratitude. And therefore, I invite all members to the front of the witness this ceremony after Parliament adjourns. Honorable members, I adjourn the Parliament until tomorrow at 10 a.m.